Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Hey, good morning, folks.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat.
Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are.
There it is, team. Morning. Morning, wherever you're tuning in from today.
Early bird gets the worm, they say. Here at Positive, we offer a 6-star team. It's a team that help you at every stage of your wealth creation journey.
Well, good morning. My name is Chris Foster Ramsey, and I'm part of the Positive Money team. Good morning to you, wherever you may be this morning. Now, I just wanted to run over a couple of things this morning, just a very quick catch up, as you like, over your breakfast coffee. Coming to you from Queensland today with our team. Wanted to talk through a couple of things, and that is really around low deposit, if you like, investment lending and how that is working. What we're starting to hear and starting to see in the different markets around Australia, and what we're hearing around the change to first home buyer rules and regs, and what that might do to the property market in general. So that's sort of where I was heading down this morning. So if you've got a question for the team, myself, just pop it in the chat. So let's get into it. So in terms of what we're hearing around the changes from October 1 in that first home buyer market, look, we speak to agents on a fairly regular basis, and what they all seem to be telling us is that the likelihood of investors and first home buyers competing for the same stock is relatively high, and that's probably something we'll see play out over the next sort of 3 to 6 months. So in terms of getting into the market, I guess there's always the right time is your right time is when it's right for you to do and your circumstances are correct. But I think that as the first home buyer market starts to move, there'll be more competition in those brackets, just because typically over the years that's what we've seen from time to time. So bear that in mind when you're doing your research. But our team is always here to help you with that. In terms of probably what I wanted to talk about more about today was around low deposit investment lending. So you've always got the usual ways of getting into your next property through using a property that you own already and using the equity within that property to a point that then becomes your deposit for the next home, and then you buy an investment property based on the next, say 80% or 70% of the next funding fund using bank money to fund sort of 70 to 80% of the next purchase. So, what does that look like if you're not in that position, and what lenders are out there that can accommodate that in terms of a traditional low deposit? So, if we look at how that also works, you've got to avoid lender's mortgage insurance, you've got a 20% deposit, which is obviously an ideal situation. Then you could qualify for a lender's mortgage insurance waiver, where it would be potentially 10% deposit into the next property. Where if you work in a certain area or employee or employer, if you work for a certain employer, or you work in a particular industry and that industry is seen as, if you like, low risk by a lender, then they're very much open to the way that they can go through things and waive the LMI or absorb the LMI. So it definitely makes it easier to a certain point, as long as you've got the borrowing capacity, of course. It makes it easier to go through a low deposit type arrangement. So just going back to other providers, I suppose that there's a couple of ways you can do that. So one provider that's caught our attention recently is a lender called OwnHome. So ownhome.com.au. They're doing a few gnarly sort of things in that low deposit investment space. We're still going through our due diligence around that and what that looks like, and we'll bring that to you if your situation looks at that, or happy for you to have that conversation with the Six Star team or whoever you're using at the moment. It's certainly a lender that's available to everyone. But what the go with OwnHome is around trying to avoid or make that a low deposit entry into an investment property or your own, own occupied property, principal place of residence, a little bit easier. And they've got some ways to do that. They set up an 80% lend against the property, and then they also have a separate facility in that lower deposit area. So the difference really between if you take 100% of the loan and then you wind it back to say 80%, that's a lending deal every day of the week. Between 80.001% of the property value and 90 or 95% of the property value is where you typically attract mortgage insurance. And there are ways to get around that, and OwnHome has certainly come into the forefront of trying to provide that for people. So I think that that if that's something that you're in, that you sort of where you're going with this over your journey, your investment sort of plan over the next 3 to 6 to 12 to 18 months, maybe even more, you're right on the cusp of being able to do a deal, but it's come down to how much cash you've got in hand. Perhaps speak to your lender or your broker, or if you're using our team about how we may be able to navigate through that low deposit situation for you. Then over time, it's definitely that anything in a high LVR space is something you're not there for. Ideally, you're not there for a long time. You're there for a good time and a short time to get the deal done, and then you're using the advice that you've been given to be able to work through the equity growth and the rental yield growth, etc., to then be able to really take back some of that equity, pay down or pay down that loan, that high LVR loan, so that you can move into the next one when the time's right for you. So just sort of recapping and takeaways from today, we covered off on the potential pressure that we're going to see in market. We're hearing about all this stuff all the time. We're hearing about the average property price in Australian major capital cities sitting at that sort of $1 million mark. There's different thought around that, whether that happens or not. It's a moot point at this point, but I'd certainly be preparing for $1 million on a property purchase. So we talked about that and how, the changes to the first home buyer rules and regulations coming from October the 1st. Mind you, that was meant to come in January 2026, and it caught everyone off guard. I think my peers and I were taken quite aback when we heard about that come out in the media in the 7:30 news one morning. So it's definitely a good thing. It's going to do what it needs to do for the particular markets. But as an investor, if you're looking to buy somewhere, the change over time that may see by having more people into that bottom end of the market, particularly up to that sort of $900 to $1 million purchase range, may put a little bit of pressure on other areas, particularly when it comes to competing for an investment stock against a first home buyer. So we spoke about that. We also spoke about the different ways to mix low deposit lending in terms of that investment space, where if your circumstances right, you've got your borrowing capacity, is all good to go. It's just a matter about how much cash you're sitting on. Then we spoke about how you can potentially access some of these new lending, newer lenders to market, but also at the same time these other ways to look through low deposit lending. So we spoke about if you're in an equity position, using equity to draw from one property and put into the next. We spoke about the mortgage insurance waivers for particular areas of all employers. So those areas of employment, emergency healthcare, healthcare, allied health, legal, accounting, and there's a few off to the side there, just very specialist roles. But if you work in those areas, you certainly, chances are that you already know about that stuff. So feel free to bring that forward to and lean into that in terms of what you're doing with your broker and your lending team, and what mortgage insurance waivers you can potentially access. And then finally, we've spoken about newer providers coming into rethinking that low deposit space, that that higher LVR space. And it's not higher LVR when you're in when we hear that Australia is going the direction that we're probably out of a exceptionally high rate environment. We're into another area of potential growth again. If you read all the different reports and you hear to the people that listen to the people that know stuff about that, it certainly seems like we're heading in that direction. So I wouldn't be afraid of heading into a high LVR environment at the moment, provided that you've done all your due diligence, you've done all your checks, and you're comfortable with it. That's probably the main part. You've got to be comfortable with it. But it's certainly, there are other providers coming out there, such as OwnHome. There are some others. And, with OwnHome, we're certainly doing our due diligence around that at the moment. And if we think that, my peers and I think that that's a potential option for you, we'll certainly bring that to your attention. Or at the same time, if you've got a question around that, they're certainly available on the website, the OwnHome website, or most of my peers and I are briefed around that. So it doesn't look like we've got any questions in the chat, so I'll wrap it up there and let you get on with your morning. But I just thought we'd go through how potentially we can make things work if you are in that environment. My name is Chris Foster Ramsey. I am a finance and mortgage broker. I've been in the industry for a long time, as have my colleagues from Positive Money and the Positive Collective. So please enjoy your coffee this morning. It is a beautiful morning where we are in Queensland this morning. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And my colleague, who's normally on the chat with you this morning, Sarah Shome, does send her apologies. And she's told me that all is good, no dramas with any of what she's got going on this morning, but she will be back with you next week. So I'll hand it back over to the team and wish you a good morning.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6 Star team here at positivementor.com.au.